Alright, so welcome back to the channel, guys. It is me, 80s More Extra. So today we're back at it again for the second channel. Today we'll be doing a debate of called the best empire of all time. We're going to be joined by BLE, and I think Matt's will be joining very shortly, and it will just be these two. I'm not going to have anyone else partake, so anyone else that wants to do, no, we're only going to have two people for today's debate. I'll just be a referee, just mediate, just to make sure everything's going smooth. And yeah, like I said, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. So remember, guys, to like and subscribe. I want to see us reach 15 likes for today's stream. And remember, guys, this is the second channel. So, like I said, guys, there is that. So, yeah. Hope you guys do enjoy. And yeah, let's go and get started, man. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, BLE, man. Actually, let's wait for Matt to join. Matt should be joining very soon.
Okay, we'll wait. No problem. In the meantime, I'll say hello to the people in the chat. Hello, Gunnar School. Hello, Bulgarian Mapping, and hello, Matt. I hope today will be a great stream, which it will hopefully turn out to be. And I expect a lot of good debating today.
Yeah.
Hopefully Matt can join soon.
All right, let's go read some comments in the meantime. Ghana School says, so happy this idea won. The game map said, what's up, AD? Hello, hello. Mashal says,
good day.
In the chat. Hello, best empire. All right, public. Oh man, not this background noise again.
Oh man, that's tough.
Not actually, it's the echo. Okay, is it good now? Oh yeah, let me get my headphones.
Alright, can everyone hear one another well?
I can hear you guys fine.
Okay, that's perfect. So I think we should start very soon.
Okay. All right. Let's start, I suppose.
Alright, Matt, I will let you go first.
All right then. So when this idea came about, I thought this seems dodgy. This seems like it could be controversial. But the more I thought about it, there's one that stood out to me. Not only is this the best in terms of the strongest, but well, I forgot the other thing. But anyway, the empire I'm picking is the Galactic Empire from Star Wars.
Right, so I need to ask, how are we going to do this?
I don't know if you want me to elaborate or... I don't know if you want me to elaborate or have BLE say his pick next.
No, first I want to know how this will be done. And try to mute the tech.
Well, I guess we can just give okay, just how about you just give your pros and cons, I suppose. Actually, let's start with the pros first.
Alright, so should I go first?
Yeah.
Alright, That's an interesting question. There are many of these empires, unfortunately, did not have a good ending for their fate, and did not have a good fate for the history of our world. And if I must choose one that was based on pure strength and that had a huge size, a large military, with a very strong general slash leader that was very brutal, but had the power to dominate the whole region and to try to influence religion uh, into his whole empire, was the Mongol Empire with Genghis Khan, who was the leader and is sometimes even named as the best emperor to exist in history, along with many others like uh, Marcus Aurelius, Augustus. You also have Qin Shi Huang. You also have many others in history, but I must say, based on pure strength and what he was able to do, because Genghis Khan, he collected the Northeast Asian actually tribes around the Mongolia, southern Russia, southern Siberia, actually northern China, the Central Asia part of Asia like Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and the Stan countries and Korea. He was able to bring them all together, and was able to on that he was able to train them properly, and he used them to conquer most of Asia, especially the whole of China, push into the Gulf regions, slowly into the Arabian Peninsula, then going to Eastern Europe a bit, and then eventually finish at the Black Sea. So I must say, based on that, the Mongol Empire was the strongest in history. I don't really have too much insight on fantasy empires like the Galactic Empire, but I will say from my historical knowledge, that the Mongol Empire, although it was the second biggest ever to exist in history, with one of the most powerful emperors actually, my bad, to exist, I'll probably go with that. But the other one, which was the biggest, which did have a couple emperors at its helm, was the British Empire, which covered more than a quarter of the entire Earth's landmass, which is amazing if you think of it like that. And it honestly, in my opinion, had the greatest influence on the fate of the world that would follow right after its collapse. So I would go with those two: the British Empire and the Mongol Empire. But there were many other big ones, like the Russian Empire, the French colonial empire. What else did you have? The Belgian Empire, although it wasn't big, it did have a big influence on the earth, especially in Africa. The Dutch Empire, the Spanish Empire, Portuguese Empire, Japanese Empire, and so on. I could go on and on, but we don't have time. We don't have all day to talk about this. So I would just go with those two, being the British Empire and the Mongol Empire.
Yeah. So I'll just say ahead of time that I'm also watching the Porto game at the same time, which should end in about 20 minutes. But nonetheless, I've gone with the Galactic Empire, and I'm starting within Revenge of the Sith when they execute Order 66. At that point, they're able to the Empire's able to get at the clone army on their side, who was the military of the rebels who worked alongside the Jedi. They also managed to recruit Anakin Skywalker, one of the best Jedi fighters out there. And within that film, they also took out all but two of the Jedi, allowing them to grow from strength to strength, resulting in them able to recruit more members, officers, stormtroopers in their empire. You've got Darth Vader, one of the best movie villains, one of the best fighters as well as the ability to force choke as well. and the head of the operation, Emperor Palpatine, very powerful fighter, very knowledgeable, very influential. And they were, as well as recruiting, they were able to build all these resources, such as the many spaceships, and also the Death Star, which was able to destroy planets such as Alderaan and Dan, and we even saw the Death Star blow up Dantooine. Yes, the rebels do destroy the Death Star, but how the Galactic Empire respond is they go to the snow planet, take Hoth, which is where one of the other rebel bases were, and then later in the film they go to Cloud City, take over that, put force Lando Calrissian, the leader, no pun intended, on force to abide by their power to get what they want in terms of the land and what they want with the characters. And to round off as well, a lot of these empires were able to conquer countries and regions, whereas the Galactic Empire was able to conquer planets. And the other part of my closing argument is a lot of these historical empires killed and enslaved people. And yes, the Galactic Empire killed people too, but at least it's in fiction and it's not impacting history or family bloodline. So that's my case made for the Galactic Empire being the best.
Right, fair enough. Right, I'll say a couple more that come to my mind. I'll go with the actually one that didn't survive, but one that could have actually. First off, I will say I do agree with Matt on his not theory but fact that he stated that, as you said, the Galactic Empire, which is a fictional empire, did not cause too much bloodshed and casualties and loss, especially with a huge number of families losing their loved ones. But it must be said that the real ones, and no, Adolf Hitler does not count. Or technically, yes, but he wasn't an emperor. But the empire that I'll say that had the best, or not best, but could have been one of the strongest, that almost took over the whole continent of Europe and was probably easily going to take over the whole world, was the Napoleon Empire under Napoleon Bonaparte, who was one of the best at his time, one of the best generals in the country of France, in the Republic of France, actually. And he appeared just at the time after the French Revolution happened, but he quickly became an enemy of the whole continent of Europe because he actually was seen as a figure that would destroy the whole continent because of the French Revolution. And they thought, because of what happened in the French Revolution, that countries like Sweden, Prussia, Russia, Italy, Spain, the Netherlands, and the United Kingdom, they all didn't like Napoleon because of his regime and how he wanted to unite France and to take over the whole continent of Europe. And they particularly didn't like what happened in the French Revolution because they thought that could happen to their own kingdoms and empires, actually, and that they would fall and cause another whole continental revolution. So, but in terms of Napoleon Bonaparte himself, one of the best emperors to ever exist in history, it must be said, there's no doubt. He did successfully conquer the former Spanish colonies of Benelux, or Belgium and the Netherlands, more specifically, not Luxembourg. He did push into Prussia, which is now Germany. He did push into Milan and Genoa, and he eventually came to Rome, where I believe he lost, but then he reconquered the city. He pushed into the Balkans a bit, conquering Dalmatia, which is now part of Croatia. No, not the current 46. But he did push a lot into Central Europe, and he got Spain and Portugal as well. He didn't manage to get the UK, which is surprising, but it does make sense because the UK were his strongest opponent. And he was able to push all the way until Russia. And he was actually very close to defeating the Russians, but unfortunately for him, winter struck at the time he arrived, and Russia used it as a big ammunition, or let's say ammo, or advantage, actually, that's the word I was looking for, to push Napoleon out of their land, bring him back to push him back into Paris. And then they got the help of Prussia and Sweden, who were fighting with Napoleon the most in Scandinavia and northern Russia, and what is now Kaliningrad and other parts of Poland. They were able to push him into Paris. And another interesting thing about Napoleon, he got sent to the island of Corsica, which is an island off the coast of France, or actually off the coast of Italy, but it does belong to France. He was banished there, and then he returned wanting to be the leader of France again and the whole world. He actually crowned himself as the emperor of the whole world, and he got that title from the Pope. I forgot the Pope at the time, but he was crowned as the emperor of France and the whole world. And he was actually very close to succeeding. But he got banished to the first island, and then he arrived back in France. Oh, one more thing, actually. When he got to Egypt and Western Asia, he abandoned a lot of his soldiers, which does show a lot of his brutality and selfishness. But it must be said that although he was brutal just like Genghis Khan and many other emperors and dictators throughout history, that he was able to, even by abandoning his forces, he was able to strengthen up more forces and to take over a lot more land across 3 continents. And although he did terrible things, he must be praised for what he did, because no one before had the power like he had to control an attack like that, or to push that far and get very close to conquering a whole continent. But I must say Napoleon. Yeah, Napoleon definitely was. His empire would have succeeded. I don't know how long it would have lasted, probably 2-3 decades, or maybe even less. But his empire, if it did succeed, it would have, although it probably would have existed for a very short period of time, it definitely would have been one of the most powerful, because he had a very strong military force. He was a trained general before he started attacks across Europe, and he was a very intellectual man, or technically not, but he was very, very fierce, and not so what's the word I'm looking for? Not so pleasant. Let's go with that word for now. Towards his opponents, but also towards his forces. So I do think the Napoleon Empire, although even if it didn't succeed, it definitely deserved, if it did happen and succeed, it definitely deserved its top spot amongst the top 5 in the world. Although France did have their own, they did actually had 2 colonial empires, spanning across most of Western Africa and northern or sub-Saharan Africa. No, actually, sub-Saharan Africa is south. Almost the whole Sahara Desert, with a bit of Western Africa, a bit of Western Asia, including Lebanon and Syria, and as well conquering what is now the 3 countries of Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. So he did bring a lot of, not he, but the French did bring a lot of influence on the world in terms of how much French is spoken. As you can see, most of the, at least least 10% or 8%, I would say, of the Earth speaks French, based on their influence and how much they were able to, although they did terrible and gruesome things, they still were able to expand their culture, just like many countries did throughout history. They were able to expand their culture. I would say one of the most successful ways they were able, one of the most successful countries to ever do that was France, just like the UK. What else? The Dutch Empire, the Spanish, Portuguese Empire, and so on. Japanese even. But yeah, I would say that's my argument for that.
He's also the reason why many countries drive on the right-hand side of the road, aka
yeah,
the wrong side.
Yeah, exactly that. Right.
All right, I want to read some
hopefully we
comments
get
right now.
some interaction with.
All right, let's read some comments. We got a lot of the live chat's pretty crazy, so there'll be some comments I'll be able to read for obvious reasons. World Best Empire. Ghana School says Galactic Empire. Boogie says, "Up guys." Oh, we're not talking about real empires. I mean, we're talking about real and fake, I guess. I feel weird about not only real. All right, La Flame, I've got rid of. This guy is, I think, trying to troll or something. So
Adolf Hitler was not an emperor.
Yeah, and that's a really, it's not relevant. So now reported skull. All right. I know, but sometimes YouTube doesn't like that. I don't want 80 show that live on stream. Okay. Oh yes. Oh man.
46
Right.
is.
W80 for hiding him. Now I know I can listen. Where's remarks? He just asked the questions. Like I said,
exactly that.
It was just trolling. It was just trolling around, man. The guy was just trying to troll, asking like irrelevant questions and trying to have. He was just trying to get me to like get suspended this channel, so I don't want to go through that. So, yeah. All right. Yeah, just read through some of your guys' comments.
All right. Hopefully, the chat will interact with many of their theories and thoughts soon, because I would like to see how these people think in terms of what they see the Earth and throughout history. Although you can choose a fantasy empire just like the galactic one, I would like to see more of the chat's interaction and how they think, because talking about something like this is a great way of mastering your thinking skills and communication, and you can educate yourself very easily with this stuff. Right, next argument.
Let's do cons now, I suppose.
Continents.
I think he said cons.
Cons. Okay. Well, the main one is to be the fact that many of these empires did bring a lot of brutality and a lot of slaughter and massacre. That for sure has to be the main one. A lot of slaughter and massacre of humanity. That for sure is the main one. Loss of many loved ones and families. Loss of people who are working in the economic sector, which is the next argument I was about to make. The economies of many of these global states did lose their economic strength because of their power that they used in the wrong way, which did lead to their demise and the collapse of empires throughout history. But yeah, I would say those two are for sure the two main ones: manslaughter, rape, murder, genocide, or else. Destroying the economies of many countries, especially what the Soviet Union did. They made their people work a lot while they had all the money and they spent it on their army. But But those for sure are the main ones: the killings and massacres, genocide that many of these empires committed, and the loss or destruction of their economy. But there are other reasons as to why you could say even wrong using of humans, just like slavery was used as a way to basically use other people to do the work for you and to bring you extra income, which is, in my opinion, the one of the most evil and demonic stuff that was ever done in history. What else do we have? We have loss in trade. Many of these empires lost to their partners as well, like I'm trying to think of some examples. The Russians, I believe, lost their trade with the Americans just because of the upbringing of communism. Although before that, the Americans and Russians were very good allies, and their political beliefs as well changed a lot of these empires, and they ultimately destroyed their people and population and their economic stability and their power. Their power was destroyed simply because of some actions that were not regarded as good actions by opposing nations and thoughts by many other countries, or actually empires, but by many other countries and political leaders who disapproved. That the best example is capitalism versus communism. So I would say those are the four best arguments I could have thought of for the cons of many of these empires' existence. Sorry.
I see Sebastian in the chat, and yes, Esther, Sebastian, I was arguing for the Galactic Empire in Star Wars, and you mentioned about Anakin Skywalker's empire. It's actually Emperor Palpatine's empire, to be honest. I think there is maybe one or two knocks you could find on, and perhaps some big knocks that you could find on my answer. I don't know if I want to give it away. I don't know if I want to give them away, but I will say that after the Galactic Empire lost their first Death Star, their response was serious, like, you don't mess with us. And as I said, Edge, they responded by taking over Hoth and taking control of Cloud City.
Yeah, I agree with Bulgarian mapping, saying if you take too many ethnic diverse places, you become very, very unstable. That's Austria-Hungary. Yeah, definitely wasn't well lived for them. Oh, great. Wasn't well lived because that's actually the point, because of the fact that many of these empires did have a lot of ethnical tension in them. One example is Austria-Hungary. Basically the Austrians, I will go with that example. Austrians, the Germanic tribes, the Uralic tribes, like the Turkic tribes, actually, which are the Hungarians, and the Slavic tribes like Czechs, Slovaks, Poles, Ukrainians. What else? You have Serbs, Croats, Bosniaks, Slovenes, Romanians as well, who were Romans actually. Just ethnically diverse places. Like one example, Austria-Hungary was one of the ultimate reasons as to why many of these empires collapsed. So I would add that there's another con as to the existence of many empires.
All right,
as far as we know, the Galactic Empire didn't have to rely on any sort of economic power.
All right, let's go read some comments. Sebastian says, Anakin Skywalker's empire is big though, but he does not really have the high ground. Real. Lol, Ghana is cool, says. Good member says. Come on, give Matt some high ground, Sebastian says. If you take too many ethnicity diverse places, you become very unstable. Just ask Austria-Hungary. Ghana's going to say, yeah. Sebastian says, Star Wars empires. The host turns his camera off. Really, you're supposed to be the host. Well, I was taking a break. I needed to do something, so yeah. And besides, it's more like I'm not really here as like to debate. I'm like here just to control everything. Everything's going control. And unfortunately, we have some background, echo noise. So that's why I haven't really been speaking too much because I think Matt's has some echo issues on his end. So that's why we decided just to mute ourselves when we don't speak. What type of U.S. history 3 period classes is AD?
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
Ask BLE, man. I don't know, honestly.
It is a realistic or historical one combined with the world of fantasy. That's what it would be.
Okay. If you saw fake empires, then okay. All right. Let's see what else. So you talk about pros and cons. Okay, now let's do some rebuttals.
As far as cons go, I technically did mention them in my pros section, but the fact that the Galactic Empire compared to all these other empires, the people they've killed hasn't affected anybody's bloodline or basically ancestral history, but also any kind of historical impact. And then also the other empires haven't been able to cover the same sort of ground that the Galactic Empire have in terms of their control. They pretty much control a galaxy. How can you beat that?
Valid and fair point. All right. What else can I discuss? People in the chat, you can also choose what to discuss about. I will happily discuss about anything you ask for.
Agreed.
Yeah. But in the meantime, I'll try to think of one myself. As well, I want to add another one to my cons section is the unfortunate acts of incest and intermarriage. But intermarriage is common, but incest as well was one of the other reasons as to why many empires failed. Okay, the Ghana school says talk about the Spanish Empire. Okay, that's actually a decent topic to talk about. The Spanish Empire, one of the biggest in history, was I'll say where it spanned across. It spanned across Spain and they even conquered Portugal. They conquered as I stated earlier at the start of the stream, the now countries of Belgium and the Netherlands, and they did take over what is now majority of Italy. Although at that time Italy had many kingdoms, like the Kingdom of Tuscany, the Kingdom of Rome, the Kingdom of Naples, the Kingdom of never mind, but they did take over at the time, kingdoms of Italy, which weren't actually the country of Italy, but they were kingdoms of their own who were later united under the Piedmont dynasty into what is now the country of Italy. But back to the Spanish Empire. The Spanish Empire was also, I must say, the second most influential in history if you're talking about linguistic and cultural reasons. The amount of Spanish that is spoken in this world has quadrupled since the Spanish took over what is now Latin America and South America, stretching across the United States at the time. What was then the state of Louisiana and the western part of the United States and the state of Florida. They stretched across the Caribbean, the so-called Central American continent. The so-called, I am using quotation marks in words. What else? They moved into South America, conquering most of the countries except for, of course, Brazil and Guyana, and French Guiana and Suriname. they had a great influence in terms of culture. You know, many people in the Latin America part of the world, they did get most of their cultural references um, and linguistics from the Spanish. So as you can see, Spanish is, I believe, the second most, or sometimes it's even said to be the third most spoken language ever. Not ever, but on Earth, right after, of course, English. I believe Mandarin is second, but I could be wrong. But the Spanish Empire did have, I would say, they were the top three empires that had the most cultural and linguistic influences on the earth, just like the British Empire and the French Empire, that I will state as well. Although the Portuguese Empire as well was pretty good at that. So they did have the best cultural and linguistics influence on earth, and they as well brought a lot of the, let's say, crops and food from their colonies to Spain, to Europe, and then that basically interacted, and they just basically, all in short, they had the, I would say, the second most influence on the earth when it came to linguistic and cultural differences, which is now seen a lot in Central America, the so-called continent of Central America, not really continent, but part of North America. And South America as well. They had some colonies in Africa as well, like the Equatorial Guinea, which is the only Spanish-speaking nation in all of Africa. They as well took some parts of Asia, like the Philippines, and I believe other districts and cities in what's now China. I believe they took that, but I know for sure the Italians and Portuguese did, but I'm not so sure about the Spanish. So the Spanish did have one of the greatest influences on the world culturally. But at the same time, they did many bad things, like the Spanish conquistadors, who are famous in American history, actually, for the state of Florida, but also for their other territories of what is now the United States, but what Spain used to hold. So, yeah, in short, one of the most linguistic and culturally influenced empires of history. And Ghana School says the Dutch Empire is also a very interesting topic after this one. It is actually, because the Netherlands, which is a small country, if you look at it on a map, it's in the top 20 most stable and biggest economies in the world. And as well as their small size accumulated a lot of Dutch being spoken around Africa and a bit of Asia. So they did have colonies they took a bit of Brazil, actually, in what is now Suriname, and they also took not a lot of, but they did take what is now South Africa. They influenced the language, what is now called Afrikaans, which is the predominantly and dominantly the most spoken language in all of the country of Republic of South Africa, which is a Dutch-based language, but it technically has its own. It's basically a mix of Dutch and local African dialects and languages. So they did have a big influence in shaping Africa and shaping Asia as well. The country of Dutch East Indies, which football-wise is very interesting, but that's not the topic for today. The Dutch East Indies was there, and by the way, the Netherlands was one of the only countries in the world that were trading with Japan during its isolation from the earth, from the rest of the world, which is they were basically the only partner of Japan. The only partner Japan ever had trading partner, actually. They traded a lot of cultural references like paintings, books, food, even basic needs on earth, mostly books, actually, and that's how the Japanese got educated, because of the books that were being brought over from Europe, more specifically the Netherlands. And they had, even in Indonesia, people speak a dialect of their language mixed with Dutch. So, and Malaysia as well had that. So the Dutch did have another cultural and linguistic, just like the Spanish, but a bit less because they, unlike the Spanish, they didn't colonize enough of the world. So, but they did leave a lot of their, a lot of their traces behind, which did have an influence in different parts of the world. So, yeah, I don't know really what else there is to say about the Dutch Empire, but I will say that it was definitely culturally and linguistically was very strong and stable. I mean, they actually did have the Dutch were very good at finding new territories, but they were not so good at keeping them for themselves because they didn't have the mentality, or they didn't have the power, or let's say they didn't have the army power to hold their colonies. So they were good at finding and exploring and new colonies or new territories, but they were not so good at keeping it for themselves. So yeah, that's basically the Dutch way.
I don't have much to rebut that I haven't said before. Certainly nothing too specific. I think when it comes to, if there's a poll at the end of this stream, then I imagine it'll have the Mongol Empire, the Galactic Empire, and then I don't know, maybe some other suggestions.
British Empire, for example.
Yeah.
French and so. Right. In the meantime, I would like to say my top 10 or 15 empires to exist. I would say the number one, of course, the British Empire, where they ruled a quarter of the earth, which you have to give credit for. They spanned across every continent, like Oceania, Australia and Oceania, Asia, more predominantly South Asia and a bit of Southwestern Asia, Africa, mostly Eastern Africa, stretching down to South Africa, and a bit in the west, but not as much as the east. Europe, including themselves in Ireland, South America, just Guyana, and North America because of the 13 colonies, which later gained independence, forming the United States of America. Although at the time it was called the United Colonies of America, and of course Canada, which is the second largest country, or debated as the third or fourth largest country in the world. So they did. You must give credit in terms of how they were able to conquer that much land and have that much of an influence on the earth, and English being the most spoken language to be spoken. So technically, great. But in short, the British Empire deserves its spot at number one, mostly because of the amount of influence it had on the earth and how much power it had as well. The second one I would like to mention is the Mughal Empire. I, of course, went into detail. The third one is the Russian Empire, as Ghana says. Yeah, the echo as well is bad. The Russian Empire definitely was the Russian Empire was basically a majority of what was the USSR, except for the Stan countries in Asia, Central Asia to be more specific, and they controlled Alaska, who their leader, one of their final leaders, not the final, but one of the final leaders, Alexander II, sold Alaska to the United States of America. And one of their leaders, who is thought to be one of the greatest emperors in history, Nicholas II. He was, unfortunately for Russia, he wasn't really a great emperor because he did have a lot of casualties during battles with other nations, and he was responsible for Russia's huge losses throughout and he was one of the reasons why the February Revolution happened, and he was later in 1918 executed by he and his family were executed by Russian Bolsheviks. If you don't know who they are, read more about them. The Bolsheviks, they executed Nicholas II and his family, Yeah, 1905 actually. I meant to say. Sorry, I confused the year. But the Bolsheviks, they were basically the ones that executed the last emperor of Russia, and one of the reasons as to why the February Revolution happened and why communism now exists. But that's Russian Empire. You have to mention the Assyrian Empire, the Persian Empire, the Macedonian Empire, the Qing, the Zhou, the
Ottoman Empire.
yes, Ottoman Empire, but I want to say the dynasties in China first. The Qing, Han, and Zhou dynasty. The Xingnuo, I think that's how you pronounce it, dynasty as well. The what else? The first and second French colonial empire, the American Empire, you could say, but that really didn't have anything except for the Philippines and a few islands in the Pacific, so you can't really count that. Mughal Empire as well. Yeah, I mentioned the Qing dynasty. Timirad, as Bulgarian mapping says. What else? The Japanese Empire, the Nazi Empire, which technically wasn't an empire, but of all the territories Nazi Germany did occupy throughout the Second World War. Excuse me. What else did we had? The Mali Empire, actually, in Africa, which was, they do have to go in there because they were one of the richest empires to ever exist in history. The Portuguese one, the Spanish one, the Dutch one, the Belgian Empire, which was one of the bloodiest because they committed mass genocide against the Congo, where actually Lukaku is from Congo himself, ethnically, but he plays for Belgium. But yeah, they did have one of the most brutal Roman Empire as well. I forgot to mention that. Thank you for reminding me. I would say, along with the British and the Spanish, they did have the most influence on the modern world with emperors like Tiberius, with Marcus Aurelius. What else do we have? Mark Antony, although he wasn't really a leader of Rome. He was seen as a traitor to Rome because he was trading a lot with the Egyptians, and he did later get in a relationship with Cleopatra herself. And well, not so much on them, but the Roman Empire, I will say a few words on that. They split. They were very successful, and their most famous leader, Augustus, who was the first emperor of Rome. He was the most intellectual and influential emperor in history. Yeah, Mongol shows Romans lose, yeah, in terms of size and power, yeah, but in terms of how much influence, I think the Romans win on that, or the Mongols. But the Roman Empire was quite successful. That's why it lasted a long time, because how many, I will say about Augustus, he was the first person to introduce police officers and every caliphate as well. The police officers and firefighters were introduced by Augustus himself, and the month August is named after him. And Babylonia as well. Yeah, there are many empires, but I cannot remember them all off the top of my head. But the Babylon Empire as well, and the split of the Roman Empire, and the Romans' main opponents were the Gauls, which is now France. What else? The Carthage, which came from North Africa. And they eventually split it up into two, being the Western Roman Empire and Eastern Roman Empire, which was later named to the Byzantine Empire. Yeah, Akkadian and Marhasi. Yeah, but the Eastern one, aka the Byzantine Empire, was the one that lasted longer because of the it was basically split into two because of religious differences. The Pope and the Orthodox Christians, by the way, I'm an Orthodox Christian myself, they didn't agree on many religious differences taught, because the word Orthodox, it comes from the Greek word, which means right teaching. And many religious differences caused tension to split Rome into two, being the Western Catholic and Eastern Orthodox. The Western Catholic didn't last that long. They lasted about a decent couple of decades. They fell apart right after, but the Byzantine Empire was able to sustain itself for longer. The Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, I forgot to mention that. The Kievan Rus as well, you can't forget about them. The what's it called? The Byzantine Empire was able to sustain itself a lot longer due to the fact that they had a very strong religious belief and religious status, being Orthodox Christianity. They traded a lot, which was one of the reasons of their success, although they eventually didn't succeed. But in short, the Byzantine Empire was the one that lasted longer than the Western Catholic one. Yeah, the Grand Colombia, I forgot about that one. That it lasted more than a decade. But I'll name some famous emperors in history, being the Napoleon I, Aurelian, Constantine I, who is actually from the place that is now my hometown in Serbia called Nisus, which is Niš. He was from there. You had Tiberius, who was the Roman emperor during the time of Jesus's crucifixion. You also had the Holy Roman. It wasn't a real empire, well, technically was, but it was more of a Catholic. It was kind of a succeeding empire to what was the Western Catholic Empire. That's what I would call it as. And it took territory mostly of Poland, Russia being Kaliningrad, the small area between Lithuania and Poland, Germany, which was the main territory, it was mostly German, Austria, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, France, Italy, Slovenia, and Croatia, and the Czech Republic as well a bit. Those were the territories of the Holy Roman Empire. But I'll get back to many other I wanted to say Qin Shi Huang. That's quite hard to pronounce. He was the first person to claim the title emperor, and he's best known. He was known for creating many conflicts between the Chinese, or different tribes in what is now China. But he's best known for creating walls, which would later merge into the Great Wall of China, which is now one of the most well protected and one of the most well-known places on the entire earth. So as Bulgarian mapping says, the Inca Empire, yes, they fell to the Spanish, unfortunately for them. The Aztecs as well. The Umayyad Caliphate. Well, there's what's the other one? There's another caliphate. It starts on an A. If Bulgarian mapping, if you remember, you can write it in the chat. The Umayyad Caliphate, that was the Arabian Caliphate, as we know today. They took over mostly the Middle East, North Africa, and they did take the Iberian Peninsula, being Spain, Portugal, and they did get to a bit of France. But the Hadrian was a famous leader as well. Augustus being I would say, the most influential leader in history. The King George VI and his wife Elizabeth, who would be Queen Mother later of the British Empire. They were ruling. I think that's the Almohad Caliphate. It starts on an A, but I can't remember the name. But they were one of the caliphates, one of the two famous caliphates. Assyria, that's the one. Assyrian Caliphate. One of the two succeeding caliphates. I know I'm talking too much, but I'm just trying to shorten it as much as possible. Mine, you also have Claudius, Septimius Severus, Nerva, Nero, Justinian I, Commodus, Diocletian, go on. Julius Caesar was Henry VIII, who was a very controversial man. But there were many famous leaders slash dictators slash emperors, or dictators not really because they controlled empires, but there were many famous emperors in history. I cannot name the best one because at the end of the day, none of them are the best. They caused the destruction to their whole tribe slash ethnic group at the end of their empire's existence. So the moral is basically none of the empires that existed throughout history were successful because they did have many. The cons I mentioned earlier were the main reasons as to why they didn't succeed. Very poor economy that was religious beliefs, political beliefs, massacres and murders, rape, slavery, and so on. Political, ethnical tensions as well. So those were. Oh yeah, I will mention Serbia did have an empire before, from the year 1308, I believe, until 1355, and the capital was the modern capital of the country North Macedonia, Skopje. They Tsar Dusan, or Stefan Dusan, he was basically the not king, but he was crowned by his. He came from a long line of. He came from a dynasty called the Nemanjići, and he was the ruler or emperor of the Serbs, Bulgarians, Greeks. I will say Bulgaria did have somewhat of an empire themselves, but they didn't last as long compared to the Serbian one. And at that time, the mid 14th century was I would say, the strongest time Serbia. The time Serbia was the strongest in history before, unfortunately, the Ottoman Empire happened. But yeah, many empires existed, many great things were done, but at the end, you cannot fully say that any were the best because most of them were bad. They were brought up, they were made with bad cause and evil intentions to destroy the world, not the world, but to rule over the world, which all of them failed at. No one will ever get to that height, no matter how much they try. And just the moral is that none of these could have ever survived. They could have for a decent amount of time, but they would never have survived until modern day. Yeah, Great Bulgarian, Second Bulgaria. That's what I meant. Yeah, didn't last long, but I don't know that Bulgaria did have a emperor. Yeah, and that's basically all I'll say.
For rebuttals, I don't have a lot of specific ones to say, especially to the Mongol Empire, but but I will say that the bad stuff that the Galactic Empire did and the bad stuff that other empires did, the fact that other empires affected the course of history in negative ways, that's one thing. And then I'll also repeat that the Galactic Empire was able to control most of the galaxy, and whereas other empires, they were only able to conquer regions. So yeah, that'll be my bit before we go to the comments.
Yeah, I'll say, right, yeah, the Serbian Empire, yeah, the 1346, 1371, but Dusan was the Tsar until Tsar being if some of you don't know, Tsar means emperor. Yeah, he was the leader until 1355. And the Seljuk Empire, yes, the Seljuk, those were the Turkish. They had their own empire before. That was actually believe that was before the Ottoman Empire. I could be wrong. I don't exactly remember all the dates, but I do know that the Seljuks, or basically the Turks, they did have their own empire prior or after, prior to the. They did have their own empire aside the Ottoman Empire. That's the main point. But yeah. Oh, and hopefully there can be a poll done now, voted as the best empire between the Galactic Empire and many historical empires. So hopefully we can do that soon.
All right, let's go read some comments. We have to round off here. We're about reaching the hour mark. Let's go read some of your guys' comments. I haven't read in a while. All right.
There's a lot.
Gotta go. Gotta go now, but see you all sometime, I guess. Okay, thank you for joining, Sebastian. Talk about the Spanish Empire. I think Bailey already did that. The Janshi Empire is also a very interesting topic after this one. 07, you got to go last. Lose Winter War. You all mentioned Russia Empire, USSR.
Well, the USSR was not really an empire. It was just a successor state to the Russian Empire because of the idea of communism, which Lenin was responsible for. He brought the once known capitalistic Russia into a more communistic Russia and formed his own republic. So the communists didn't believe in monarchy like the capitalists did. So yeah, the Mayan civilization as well they did have their own empire, but it wasn't the most successful. Along with the Aztecs, the Incas, who unfortunately, as I said earlier, they lost their status to the Spanish conquistadors. But Sokoto Caliphate, I haven't heard of that one, but there is one that maybe I have, but I forgot the time. But yeah.
Yeah. Haven't.
Okay. I could go on all day. I could speak about this all day, and I won't get tired at all. But we do have a time limit, so we need to finish soon.
Yeah, we have to round off soon. Dingo says the echo, I can't. Yeah, the echo is pretty frustrating. I also don't like it as well. So in a way to like, because we can't, I don't think Mats can get rid of the echo. So what he's been doing is that whenever he's not going to speak, he will just mute his microphone. And that's what we should do. If you're not going to speak, please mute yourself. So, going forward, that's what I'm going to be doing. And I'm going to try to implement that rule from now on. So, yeah, it's gone now. Okay. 1905 ended the Russian Empire.
Yes, that's true.
Qing, Mughal Empire, Timurad. I think you went through you went through all the comments, right?
Yes, I discussed about every single one they asked about.
Okay. I'll just read through anyway. Roman Empire, ONG. Top 2 is probably the British Empire, Roman, in my opinion. Mongol shows Romans levels. Cap. Every Kavarit. Babylona started all. Academe and Marazi. Polish-Lithuania Commonwealth. Grand Columbia is a world of questions. It lasted 12 years. Good history knowledge, Nicola. Yeah, Nicola, you're very intelligent.
Well, Eric. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, Eric, man. It would be great to have you and Eric come on together.
Yeah, that will be something. Hopefully, it does happen in the future.
Yeah. Bulgaria says Holy Rolla Empire wasn't in real empire. It was more a lot of states. The Inca Empire. Umayyad Caliphate, Almohad Caliphate, or Assyri. Bro, you're gonna keep you're all day Bulgarian ball. JK. Buki says. Gaza Empire was located in southern Zimbabwe. I think I heard of that. First Bulgarian Empire, Great Bulgaria, Second Bulgaria. Serbian Empire, 1346, 1371.
I forgot. I'm ashamed of myself. I forgot the years of when our empire existed. But it was one of the strongest in Europe at the time when it did exist.
Okay. Let's see what else. Sokoto Caliphate is last one in my mind right now. Pookie says, shout out to the Mayan civilization. Poi says, bit late but high. My country were a part of the Mayan civilization. Wow.
Just to watch Belize was part of the the Mayans lived in Central America, so they were obviously part of the what is now Belize was obviously part of the Mayan civilization. But one last thing before we end, can we do a quick poll to see what would win?
Well, I don't think a lot of people are here now, so I'm not sure we should. I guess we can still do.
All right,
We
let's
could do it
include.
based on the arguments as well.
Yeah. So definitely the galactic one there, the British, Mongol. What else can we add? We can add the French one, the Portuguese, and Spanish. Let's go with that.
Okay, how about we just do this one? Which empire? Which the fictional one or the real one? We could do that way.
Okay, that's
So
fair.
there are lots of there's lots of examples of the real one.
Hmm. Okay,
Mongol
Beely,
Empire.
Beely, just choose the best real one too.
So the best real one or the best real ones. So do I choose one or more?
Just choose one to keep things fair.
All right, I'll choose the. Oh, that's tough. I don't know whether to go with the Mongols or the British. It has to be one of those. So I'll probably go with the Mongol one, just because of how strong they were.
Okay, let me put that down here. All right. So you guys, please vote in the bowl. Like I said, guys, this is for fun. So you know, don't take it too personally. Beely or Mets. So yeah, if you guys did enjoy this debate, this was a good debate.
It certainly was. I'm glad to have shared my thoughts, and I hope many of you will take into consideration and learn a bit more about the Earth and what happened on this planet.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. So. All right, we got 5 votes. Excuse me. 3 votes for Mongol and 2 votes for Galactic. I'll give you guys like 3 minutes.
Oh, I have to go soon, so I will leave now. But I will say it was a great stream. Thank you for having me, AD. Nice to discuss with you, to argue against your Mets, and great. What's it called? Discussions with the chat as well. So peace out, everybody.
AD, who do you think made the better argument for each?
I think Beely had more insight, so I'd probably say him.
Well, I'm talking on the Mongol Empire specifically.
To be honest with you, Matt,
the insight it's of course referring to the fact that he's talked about lots of different empires.
Yeah, I don't really quite remember exactly about the Mongol Empire. So
it was the first one he talked about.
Oh, the first one. Okay. Then I guess I'll say him.
Yeah, he spoke about talking about the around East and Central Asia, but my main arguments for the Galactic Empire, well, I'm not going to go through them all, but it's basically the influence they had, what they were able to do, the ground they covered, and the fact that their worst attributes didn't affect real life history.
I see. All right, we have 1 more minute. And Beely's unfortunately left, so we will not know even if he wins. I guess I can vote. Let me vote.
He'll know by the end.
Yeah, actually, let me go ahead and make my vote. All right. I think we have a tie though.
Ooh, it's a tie.
Oh, actually, no, we don't have a tie. We just have a narrow winner. And the winner is a dramatic drum roll, please. And this is so bad. Oh, you actually have. Yeah. Let's go. And the winner is Mongol Empire.
How many votes? 7 was it?
54%. Galactic Empire 45 and votes. Wow. All right, so someone just said in the chat. Jamaican John says it was 54-46, and I voted. Rigged. Yeah, actually, the math doesn't add up. That would be 99%.
Maybe that's the joke.
Yeah. Well, anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy today's debate stream. And yeah, it was good fun, guys. And I'll see you guys tomorrow on the main channel for the Barca match reaction at around, I think, 12:15 p.m. my time. So we better win. I'm just saying that. So yeah, like I said, I'll put a community tab for the next debate show, so you guys can suggest. So yeah. Anything else from your end, Matt, before we end it?
Yeah, I guess you could say my pick might have been a mockery or a piss take, but at the same time, I did manage to bring out a solid argument, and the fact that it's an empire within itself. Yeah, I think it was a good stream, and I think it was good to see that nobody got political towards one another.
We did have some political stuff, but it was only from one person, so we got and that portion got removed. So. Yeah. All right, so hope you guys did enjoy today's stream. And yeah, I'll see you guys later, man. Peace out. And Jamaican says, John says, I voted Galactic 54-46. Yeah. Well, I just ended the poll. What probably happened is that you probably tried to vote, and then I close the poll. So I don't know,
Then
or maybe
make it a draw.
Should we say it's a draw?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. We can say it's a draw, I guess. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
just for fun.
But yeah, subscribe to both of our channels.
Bulgarian Map says no. What? I'm not doing a tiebreaker, man. And Bealey's already left, so we can't even do a tiebreaker. Yeah, low.
But yeah, subscribe to both of our channels.
Yeah, subscribe, man. Subscribe. I want to see us reach 200 subscribers on this channel. So, Bulgarian says, poll says what it says. Yeah. I've already subscribed to Matt's. Wow. All right. Like 7 weeks ago. Okay. Anyways, we should round off here, man. Round off. Hope you guys remember, guys, to like and subscribe. Comment below your thoughts. Comment below if you're watching the replay. Also, check out my other platforms in the description below. And yeah, I also remember, guys, to subscribe. Turn on notification bell to be notified whenever I go live on this channel. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace out.